What's up everyone? This is going to be my third tier list video. I usually don't enjoy making these videos just because these videos tend to be very time consuming to make. But I will definitely say that people do enjoy watching these videos, and just based on engagement from these videos as well, such as community feedback from the questions and the polls that I create. So this was going to be a Sternritter tier list, which is going to be a little bit different from my previous ones. I did do a Genichi tier list as well as an Aizen tier list, just because those two are my favorite characters in anime. So I'll probably link those in the description below. That being said, there aren't that many Sternritters in the game because the first batch of Sternritters was actually released in early 2020. And then afterwards, there was a hiatus with the 1000-Year Blower characters. So after the Gremmy and Lille Barro banner that occurred near the end of 2020, we didn't really get a Sternritter until August of 2023. So there was almost a 3-year gap, which is kind of crazy, but it, I believe, had to do with the licensing. And anyways, enough about the backstory, let's actually jump into the tier list. So for this tier list, the rankings are going to be based on how useful they are in terms of usability, and there's probably going to be a little bit of bias based on whether or not I like the character, such as your design, as well as your skills and gameplay. Now, skills are going to be, of course, more objective, but gameplay is going to be more subjective. So, without further ado, let's get started. And also make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe because, these videos, because doing that will really help my channel and these videos grow by a lot. So, yeah, thank you if you guys are already subscribed. Anyways, for Askin, this character is meant solely for PvP. And he has a squad serial killer, which basically means that he was meant to be the speed, brave, battle, Ichibe counter. So that character came out at the end of year of 2019. So, and whereas this Askin came out in pretty much early 2020. So, anyways, so in other words, he doesn't really have much of a use outside of that. For example, he doesn't have guard break, so you're never really going to have to use him. You're never really going to have fun using him outside of PvP. And even then, PvP is so stacked with powerful characters such as Sajin, Renji, Meninas, Mila Rose, and the list goes on. So you're almost never going to want to use this Askin because his resurrection was pretty bad and pointless. For example, it didn't really solve the issues that he had, such as not having guard break. So I think with that, I think it's pretty obvious he belongs in the D tier. Next we have Bambietta. So Bambi is a really good link with the full stamina only increased strong attack damage 20%, but outside of being a good link, she's not really useful outside of that. For example, she only has Frenzy +1 and no other major skills that will let her increase her damage output by a significant margin. I think if they have given her SP 50% boost, which is pretty much what Candice got, I think she would actually be somewhat pretty good because I think her gameplay and her kit itself is actually not bad. And honestly, if Kila had given her Frenzy +2, such as like what they did with Daddy Ichigo, I think I would have ranked her higher, but unfortunately they didn't. So I would have to put her in the D tier next to Askin, though I would definitely say that this Bambi is probably better than the Askin. So I would actually put her slightly above Askin in the D tier. Next we have Candice. So Candice's resurrection was actually pretty good because they gave her the SP 50% boost, which in my opinion, I feel like Bambietta should have gotten. But the thing about the SP 50% boost for these characters is that they don't really, specifically for this Candice, is that she doesn't really have a quick way to inflict a status ailment. For example, Candice doesn't have a skill that would increase her chances of her inflicting paralysis. But even then, I feel like in terms of using her, I would say she's slightly better than Bambietta, but Bambietta is better link. So I would probably put her in the D tier as well. Whether or not she's better than Bambietta, I do feel like the what do you call it? I do feel like Bambietta is probably a much more useful link. So I'll probably put her. I'll probably put Bambietta slightly better, but I would say they're pretty close or even, I guess. I think we should. Okay, this should be sorted a little better. I'm actually just gonna do Uryu next because I believe he came out afterwards. So it'll probably be Uryu and then Bazz-B and Jugram. Next we have 5th anniversary Uryu. So similar to Bambietta, I would say he's just another good link. Now this character is really meant to just be a good utility unit. I think he was the first character to ever come out with the ailment reversal mechanic, and then I think they gave it to Spirits Are Forever With You Kenpachi, which was the power version. Afterwards, I think regardless, this character only has Frenzy +1, but nonetheless still a decent unit. So I would put him in the C tier just because he is one of the 5th anniversary round 2 units. So they, like, typically speaking, round 2 units for anniversary tend to be slightly better. So I think it makes sense to put him C tier. I'm actually gonna do Jugram next. So next we basically have the Balance Brave Battle Jugram. So this is actually the only version of Jugram Hashbuff that we have in the game, which is kind of crazy. And I'm really hoping for a remake this year because he is probably one of my favorite Sternritters, right after Gremmy. So Jugram was the first character to ever come out with the Brave Battle temporary invincibility mechanic, which dominated the entire PvP meta for about 1.5 years. When the Beyond Bankai version of Kenpachi came out until the Beyond version of Kenpachi. Beyond Bankai version of Kenpachi came out in end of the year 2021. So Jugram came out in end of the month July 2020, so in round 2 of the, I believe, 5th anniversary. So this guy was dominating PvP for pretty much 1.5 years, which is kind of crazy because KLab did release Spirits Are Forever With You Tsukishima, who was basically supposed to be the, what do you call it, the Jugram counter. But the issue was that he couldn't ignore Brave Battle invincibility, so he wasn't really the Jugram counter, but rather just another unit that that just worked well if you really have Jugram. And I think it's kind of funny because Jugram's shrift is called the Balance, but this guy completely broke the balance of PvP. So I'll probably put him in the B tier for the Balance, but also I still feel like you could play him in PvP if you have no better options because of his invincibility mechanic, which I think could come in really clutch. And I do feel like with the way PvP is structured right now, it's a lot of rock paper scissors. For example, some characters have Brave Battle invincibility, some characters don't. So you know, it's a little bit weird. Next we have Bazz-B. So I'm gonna put him in C tier. I will say he basically got the same resurrection as Candice, but slightly better. Because of the fact that he has the extra skill for increasing status ailment chance against power attribute enemies by 10%, which makes it easier for him to proc the status ailment spiritual pressure boost 50%. And I feel like because of those reasons, I would say he's better than Candice. I'm going to be putting him in the C tier. And I would put Uryu higher than Bazz-B because I do feel like Uryu has more utility and also his link is slightly better. Next, I think I should probably go in order here, so it should be Jugram, Lille Barro, and then I'll probably fix this up later. So basically, this is going to be the first Gremmy. So the banner that came out with him, which featured Lille Barro, and then now is probably one of my top 10 banners in Bleach history. Because I feel like KLab went above and beyond for the visuals of this Gremmy. For example, this guy legit has a meteorite falling from the sky for his third strong attack, but his biggest hitfall is his first strong attack, which is pretty much his bread and butter. And the issue with his first strong attack is that it's basically a ranged collision strong attack, which makes his damage output a little bit inconsistent. And I feel like the best way to fix that is to give him a skill such as follow up, which is pretty much the skill that which is what the White Day speed version of Grimjow has. For those reasons, I would probably put him in the C tier. But I would definitely say that he's probably the best character out of everyone here so far. I think he's better than Uryu and better than Bazz-B. Next, we have Lille Barro, who is still probably one of my favorite power characters to play to this day. I personally just really enjoy playing this character for any content that requires a power character. With Soul Reaper Killer, I think he's slightly better than Gremmy just because his damage output is consistently higher since he doesn't require the SP 50% boost that Gremmy has. So I'll actually put him in the B tier because I think he's a really solid unit, and I think he's fun to play, and also he's the only version of Lille Barro that we have in the game so far. So Now this is where the 3-year gap happens when this with the Sternritters. With the Sternritters. So next, I believe it's this Bambietta and then this Quilge. So basically, we have the Technique Range Captain Killer Bambietta that was released in end of the month, August of 2023, which is 3 years after the previous Sternritters were released, which featured Remy and Lille Barro, and this is also where KLab starts to design characters for Guild Quest. Now, I actually think this Bambietta is really fun to use because of her second strong attack, which is basically just a barrage of attacks. But the main issue is that it really kind of makes her vulnerable to getting hit if you don't have barrier or any type of ability to block off attacks essentially. So for range Captain Killer week, the best side unit strong attack damage units you would have to use would be 6th Anniversary Aizen, 1000-Year Blower Uryu, the Technique version, this Bambietta, and also the 1000-Year Blower 2024 Candice. But the issue with the Uryu is that he's a pot unit, so really the 3 best options are 6th Anniversary Aizen, Bambietta, and the newly released Candice for the range Captain Killer Guild Quest week. I just feel like this character isn't amazing, so I'll put her in B tier, but I don't think she's good enough to be in A tier. So I would say she's better than Jugram and probably Lille Barro as well. She's mostly just a Guild Quest unit, but I do like her design, and I think her second strong attack is unique, so I think that's always a plus. Next, we have Quilge. So, I mean, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name properly, but whatever. Anyways, this character is an easy A tier character. I really like this character. I think he's one of the best heart characters to this day. Definitely at least top 10 for heart. His strong attack cooldowns are really low because he has the strong attack recharge 14% link on top of the team/party heart attribute strong attack recharge 20%. He also has Frenzy +2 and SP 80% on top of the Rampage and Drain that he has. So his second strong attack is also a Moving Vortex, which already makes him a really good unit. So I would say this character is insanely strong. So obviously, of course, an easy A tier. Let's see, Meninas. So Meninas. So this is the first version of her. She's basically a Brave Battle unit. I would say she is pretty much useless outside of Brave Battles, but she is insanely good in Brave Battles. So she doesn't really have much use, but she's what I would say like is sharp in the sense that she's meant for one specific purpose, but then that's it. Like you're never gonna use her outside of PvP because her gameplay is just really boring and dull to use or play with. So I think it just makes sense to put her in the A tier just because of her usability in Brave Battles and how she's pretty much kind of the meta, if that makes sense. And also she actually doesn't even have guard break, so it's like how do you play a NaNaNa character without guard break outside of PvP? I don't know. So A tier, I do feel like the Quilge is a lot better and more fun to use though. So next, let me go in order here. I think Gremmy should be next. So Gremmy, I mean, there's really not much to say. So Gremmy is obviously an easy S tier. He is by far the best technique character in the game. He's a 9th anniversary character. He's the first unit to ever get the EX ability. He clears content super easily. His skills are completely bonkers with the kit that he has. His second strong attack is a Moving Vortex. I feel like this is one of the most insanely powerful characters in the entire game, and I just feel like this character isn't going to get power creep anytime soon. His gameplay is just so insane, and I believe that you could actually use him to clear a lot of the to clear Guild Quest that's not Hollow Week basically, which is pretty insane. Let's see. I think the character that came out after Gremmy was Masculine, I believe. So. And then after Masculine, it's Bambietta. Okay. So Masculine is basically just another Guild Quest unit. There's not too much to say about this character because I don't actually have him. He just seems really boring to play, in my opinion. If you plan on using him for outside of content related to Guild Quest, And I think the thing about him is that usually for NAD characters in GoQuest, you don't actually play them. Like usually you just have them in your team, and that's pretty much it. I think it's a little bit disappointing what they did with his gameplay. So I feel like I would probably have to put him in the. I would probably put him in the B tier. I just feel like he's just not fun to play, and I would definitely say that Bambietta is definitely more fun to play. So that's my opinion. Next we have Zombie Bambietta, who basically came out in Halloween of 2024, which is kind of ironic. She is basically meant to be a range of Rancor Guild Quest. She's supposed to be meant for the range of Rancor Guild Quest week, and that is pretty much it. Her gameplay isn't really anything impressive, which is kind of sad because it would have been nice if Caleb cooked up something for her, since we're probably not going to get another version of this Bambietta. But we probably, of course, are going to get more Bambiettas because, you know, there's a lot of Bambietta sims, myself included. So I'll probably put her in a B tier just because she's good for GoQuest, and that's it. There's really nothing much about her gameplay that stands out. I think I would actually say that this version of Bambietta is better than the Zombie Bambietta version. Okay, so next we have Robert. So I don't know how many Robert fans we have in this game, but shout out to all those people who wanted to see this guy in the game. He's basically meant to be played alongside Bambietta for range or Rancor Guild Quest week, and that's really it. There's really nothing too crazy or impressive or impressive about this character. So I would say he's probably another B tier unit. That's probably I would say he's probably more fun to play than this masculine. I think this masculine gameplay is so bad. Like his first strong attack is literally unplayable. So I think Robert is actually pretty good though. So I think this makes sense. Okay. We also have, so basically we have the 2024 version of Candice. So this is pretty much another Guild Quest unit. The main thing that stands out about her is her second strong attack, which is pretty much a vacuum AOE strong attack or vacuum AOE beam, which is pretty much unique and the first of its kind. There's really not much to say about this character. She's very good in Guild Quest for melee Captain Killer Week, and that's it. I feel like outside of Guild Quest, I feel like you're always going to have better options for better damage output because her true value is locked behind a specific game mode, which kind of sucks, and I guess really none of her skills are crazy broken. So I would probably say that she's a solid B tier unit. I'll probably put her in between the Bambietta, the two Bambiettas. Next, I'm actually going to be doing As Nodt. So he's basically a mid-month unit, so Caleb didn't really do anything crazy for him. I think if I had to describe him, he is pretty much the very definition of mid. I have him and have used him, and there's just really nothing impressive about this character, so I would say he's definitely an easy B tier unit. I think he is definitely worse than I'll probably put him in between Robert and masculine. Like I would say Robert, you know, is actually not terrible, but I think he's definitely better than masculine. Just because I think this masculine is so boring to use. Like he's just really like I mean they did his character dirty, unfortunately. Next we have Liltotto, which is which is interesting because we have this Christmas. We have a Christmas version of her before we have an original version, so that's a little bit interesting. Basically, she is designed for Sternritter Guild Quest Week, and her gameplay is really nothing special. She has some very standard strong attacks, but she does have an EX ability, which I think makes her stand out, of course. Like I would say her strong attacks are very standard. Like her third strong attack is pretty much a full screen. There's nothing crazy or special about her. I don't have her, but just based on the gameplay that I've seen that Caleb has released, I don't think she is like she's nothing crazy or nothing too crazy. So I would probably put her. I'll put her next to Meninas. Who else is next? So Okay, so Christmas Gremmy is next. So he actually has double booster, which is pretty cool in my opinion. The first of its kind. I don't think there are that many characters. I don't even think there's any characters in the game where they have two boosters in their from their strong attacks. So he has one booster in his first strong attack and another booster in his third strong attack, which is I've never seen that before, so that was pretty cool. He also has Star Barrier plus 15, which is very interesting and kind of wild in my opinion. Like the first character to also have Star Barrier plus 15. Now, I'm not really a fan of narrative characters from 2024 because I feel like KLF puts in zero effort in making them in terms of relevancy outside of Field Quest. But this character is not bad because of his second strong attack, which is a vortex that surrounds him, and the double booster is pretty cool. So I'll actually put him in the A tier, right next to Liltotto. Next, right here we have 2024 Bazz-B. Now, this is definitely a character that I really want. His gameplay is really smooth, and I feel like even though he is a strong attack damage character, I actually really like his nat string as well. I feel like he's meant for the he of course is meant for the melee Soul Reaper Guild Quest week, but I feel like he's very good to use outside of that as well because his gameplay seems very fun to play outside of that. I think a reason for that is because of his status ailment trap for his third strong attack, as well as his strong attacks. They're super quick and fast, so I definitely feel like he's very good, and I think he's actually a very solid A tier unit. I don't think he's better than Quilge though. I think Quilge is still very strong. I mean, I feel like this is hard to say, but I do feel. I mean, I don't know, like I definitely want, I definitely want this Bazz-B, but I feel like this Quilge is just objectively better, so I can't really, put the Bazz-B in front of him. So now we have the end of the year Askin that came out last year. So I think it's pretty obvious that this character belongs in the S tier. He could definitely be used outside of Brave battles because he has Sharpshooter and Flurry plus 3. So the thing about most Brave battle units is that their Flurry, so basically their Flurry plus 2 or plus 3 is locked behind Brave battles. But this guy actually just has flat out Flurry plus 3, which is very crazy in my opinion. Like he has Flurry plus 3 by default. So if you head into a points event, he's gonna have Flurry plus 3 and not Flurry plus 2 or something like that. So I actually think that's pretty insane, as well as the fact that he has a booster. So I think this character is definitely going to be relevant for a super long time, at least for Brave battles. So definitely an S tier unit. Obviously, of course, not even close to Gremmy. Gremmy is a whole different beast. So even though he is S tier, Gremmy is significantly better and probably more useful, at least for PvE content. So next we have NaNaNa, who is a solid B tier unit in my opinion. Just because he's a NAD Guild Quest unit that has a Stenritter killer. So no one really asked for this unit, but hey, I mean, Kia decided to release this character. So here's the thing about his stats and skills. He only has Flurry plus 1, but he gets Flurry plus 2 in Guild Quest. So that kind of sucks if you plan on using him outside of that. And that's pretty much the reason why I'll probably put him in the B tier. I would say I would say he's probably better than Masculine, so I think this makes sense. Next, we have Swimsuit Bambietta. So basically, Swimsuit Bambietta has a Monster Killer, and I really like the way they designed her skills. So she's good for Guild Quest as well as for PvE content because of the fact that she has the enemies defeated bonus. I think she's one of the first few characters that have that ability, so that's pretty cool. This is also a swimsuit version of her, so I feel like I have to put her in A tier. I feel like swimsuit characters are always iconic just because it targets all the Sims, and we get this every year, so swimsuit characters are always iconic. Definitely put her in the A tier. I don't know if she's better than. I mean, I'll just put her here, I guess. And I guess for the Bambiettas as well. I mean, like Candice and Meninas, I think I'll probably do this. I believe this Candice is a Guild Quest unit because of she's an ad unit, and then Meninas is a potion unit, so probably a little more useful. So I think this makes sense. Okay, so now we have As Nodt essentially. So I feel like they kind of missed the opportunity to do something crazy for this character, such as giving him the ability to transform into his bow standing form, which kind of sucks in my opinion because this would have been the perfect character if they had done that. Like, just imagine if his EX ability allowed him to transform into his bow stand form. I think that would have been sick, and that would have been really innovative and cool. Now, I can't really justify myself putting him in the S tier just because he can't really transform, which I think is a huge disappointment and letdown. Now, don't get me wrong, I think this character is still very good because of how he because of how he has 3 debuff abilities from his EX ability, his second strong attack, as well as his special moves. But I feel like not giving this guy the ability to transform into his bow standing form, especially when his bow standing form is in his background of his artwork, I think it's kind of stupid. But I'm just gonna keep it a buck 50 with you guys. I think this character probably belongs in the A tier. I think he's better than Quilge. I mean, honestly, you could probably make a statement that this Quilge is better. It's hard to say, but I'm just very disappointed with how his bow standing form is not, like, he can't transform into his bow standing form. That's just so freaking cringe. I'm gonna be honest here. And I think it probably makes more sense to do, let's see. Okay, so we have, let me think. Okay, so I'm actually gonna do Cang next because I think I missed him. So Cang is actually, he's basically a mid-muff unit, but he does have a gauge effect which makes him really strong. So I feel like he belongs in the B tier just because he does have frenzy +2, gauge effect, and as well as the SP 80%. I think an alternative for him would be the 2023 end of the year version of EOY, which also has a no affiliation killer in addition to hollow killer effect. So I feel like if you have the 2023 end of the year version of EOY Baja, you don't really need Cang. I think regardless, if you are a huge Cang fan, by all means summon or play this character. I think he's very good, but if you have a EOY 5 out of 5, that is probably going to be a lot better to have and use because he has 2 killers and he's probably gonna be. And that EOY is probably just going to be more useful. Nonetheless, I still feel like this Cang is still very good because he has 11 skills and 3 innate skills, so he's definitely going to be near the high B tier range. I would say he's probably better than Bambietta in my opinion, so I think this makes sense. Alright, now back to Driscoll. Driscoll is not overkill. So honestly, this character is really, really strong. He has the standard frenzy +2 and SP 80%. The spiritual pressure boost 80%, which makes him stand out. But I think what makes him stand out is the rampage 2%, where he gets 2% more damage for every opponent he kills on top of the enemy's defeated bonus. So this is probably the most anime or show accurate character in the game because this guy just goes Super Saiyan the more opponents he kills. So it's kind of like Sung Jin Woo from solo leveling with his whole aura farming and how he gets stronger, as the more opponents that he defeats. And with every single boss he defeats. So obviously Driscoll was pretty irrelevant in the show, but his strength was actually pretty overpowered if you think about it. I mean, that's kind of why Kubo had to kind of pretty much like kill him off early in the show because he was going to be an issue if he didn't. So I feel like I have to put him in the S tier just because I think his damage output is actually really, really insane because of the rampage 2% on top of the frenzy +2 and SP 80%. So I would say probably something like this, honestly. I mean, actually, I think it makes more sense to put him after Askin. I just think Askin is probably like by far the best PvP unit right now in the game. So okay, so next we have Giselle. I believe this character also came out in Halloween of last year as well, in 2024. So I think she's the first character to have the domination status element effect introduced, which I think is a very fun mechanic in the game. I feel like I always rate these characters based on I always rate these characters based on whether they're fun to use or not. And I don't have this character, but I would definitely want this character just so I could try out the the domination status element. And I kind of really wish to give the domination effect to the Shinji that came out in 2024 because I find it kind of dumb that they didn't, because Shinji's Bankai is exactly what the domination status ailment does. So most characters nowadays, they have Frenzy +2 and then 80% SP. So this Giselle has that as well as the Azon that I mentioned earlier. He also has that as well. But I think what makes his character stand out is the domination ailment. So I feel like I probably should put her in the S tier. I mean, is she better than Driscoll? I mean, I'll say she's more fun than Driscoll. More fun to play than Driscoll. So I think it makes sense to put her better in the head of Driscoll. Okay, finally we're getting to the recently released Magic Society characters. So I'm gonna be doing Giselle first. So Magic Society Giselle is pretty much a copy and paste in terms of skills from the previous Giselle. She also has the same killer, but the only difference is that this Giselle is melee instead of ranged. So I feel like I have to put her in S tier just because it's pretty much exactly a copy and paste. So I think it makes sense to do this. Next we have the Magic Society. We're gonna do Magic Society As Nodt. So Magic Society As Nodt is pretty much a Guild Quest unit. He only has Flurry +2 in Guild Quest, and outside of that, he just has 1, which kind of sucks because he just recently came out. So I feel like I think he belongs in the B tier just because I can't justify ranking a NAD character with Flurry +1 higher than that. So I think I would say he's probably somewhere around here, honestly. Like pretty much in between, Robert and the other like NAD characters. And then finally we have Magic Society Askin, who is basically the farming unit of the manor. So he's actually the first. This is actually the first strong attack damage unit version of him to come out. The previous two, as you guys can see, the S tier unit of him is also NAD. The D tier unit version of him is also NAD. So for Magic Society Askin, this character is pretty good. He has 2 killers, Soul Reaper and Arankar, which makes him a huge plus. I think the thing that sucks about him is that he's a farming unit, which we don't really need these days, and because of all the passive income that we get from achievements. So I made a video about this other day, about how I have over 300,000 link stop potions in the game, but I still think that he's an A tier unit because of his 2 killers. So I would say he's probably okay. So I'll say the Azon is probably better than Askin. So I think this list. Okay, so yeah, I'll say he's slightly worse than As Nodt, but I think it's better than Quilge. So I think this list makes sense. Okay, so pretty much this wraps it up for my list. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about this list. Do you guys agree or disagree? Also, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, because that would really help to make that would really help my channel a lot. And these videos they take a really long time to make because I have to write a script for this. So yeah, just let me know in the comment section below what you guys think, and whether or not you guys like this tier list video, whether you guys agree, and which tier list video I should be making next. I'm always open to ideas. So yeah, thanks everyone. Stay safe and stay healthy.